On today's episode, we're going to talk about introverts and extroverts. I had this weird epiphany recently about how not only do you find these personalities everywhere, of course, in like every country, but how the US and Germany seem to prefer one over the other. Hello, Yin Lieblings. I'm Madi, science fiction and fantasy author who's been living in southern Germany since 2014. So I have a little background for this whole episode in order for this epiphany to make sense. So bear with me. And also, little shameless plug. I am drinking gin and tonic. This gin is actually gin with raspberries, and it has been distilled by a friend of mine. And yeah, so I actually would like to do like a tour of his distillery sometime, especially with like the guys over at Americans in Germany drinking whiskey. Granted, they do like whiskey stuff, but like if they want to come over and like check out a gin distillery, it'd be really fun. Totally random. Anyway. So I have mentioned in an earlier video that I am writing a Pride and Prejudice retelling involving a Peruvian American Elizabeth and a German Darcy. And if you didn't know that, well, now you do. Hey, welcome to my channel. The main reason why I'm doing this is because the original Pride and Prejudice dealt with a clash in social status, so Darcy being mega rich and Elizabeth is comfortable. Mine deals with the clash of culture. I think there are plenty of differences between the US and Germany specifically, where my main pair can have a horrible first impression, just like Elizabeth and Mr. Fitzwilliam Darcy. If you're not sure what I'm talking about, a lot of the basics, you could check out one of my earliest videos where I compared Germans to coconuts and Americans to peaches. Anyway, when trying to write characters with certain cultural backgrounds, my biggest concern is making sure I am not treading into stereotypes. My Elizabeth doesn't walk around in a cowboy hat and a poncho, and my Darcy doesn't constantly have a beer in his hand while walking around in lederhosen. I mean, how else are you going to tell your readers that your characters are from a certain country? That's lazy writing. No. I do like writing character-driven stories, so I had to look at who these characters are as people and what about them can clash in order to cause conflict. So I looked back at the moment between the OG Elizabeth and Darcy to see where that bad impression really hits off. In the novel, Elizabeth overhears Darcy call her, quote-unquote, tolerable, but not handsome enough to tempt me. Essentially, when his friend Bingley says that Elizabeth is very pretty, Darcy simply responds with, meh. Elizabeth overhears this and channels her inner Lily Aldrin from How I Met Your Mother.
You son of a bitch.
And thus, Elizabeth is dead set on hating Darcy for the duration of the book. So I thought, what could my Elizabeth overhear to have a similar reaction? Well, at the moment, I have my couple meet at a wedding in Peru. Elizabeth is trying to be friendly and attempts small talk with my Darcy, who will have none of it, just like in the original novel. But then she overhears Darcy beg his friend not to leave him alone, or else the American girl is going to try to talk to him again, and he is not having any of this American fakeness. Delicious drama. I realize that at its core, I have paired an extrovert with an introvert. And so much of their conflict revolves around that initial first impression and how one can converse easily with strangers while the other can't. And it's just like in the original novel. Darcy tells Elizabeth about halfway through the novel, I certainly have not the talent which some people possess of conversing easily with those I have never seen before. I cannot catch their tone of conversation or appear interested in their concerns as I have often seen done. Elizabeth's response is simply that he should practice more. I'm not going to read that quote, it's very long-winded. My husband and I have actually talked about the usefulness of being able to engage in small talk when first meeting people. He has mentioned wanting to practice more because he does think it's a good skill set to have, especially for when he has to travel for business. And if you are new to this channel, yes, my husband is German, and yes, I am Peruvian American. And no, the story is not about us. My husband has never called me fake. At least not to my face. No, I'm kidding. He has told me that he did find the American friendliness to be rather off-putting when we first met, but we've also been together since like 2013 and is obviously used to it by now and considers the, hey, how you doing, as just a long form of saying hi. And it got me thinking about introverts in general, especially introverts in the States, the ones that also hate small talk and the social rituals that we have in the States. And I realized that the US is a culture that prefers extroverts. Now you see where the hell I'm going with this episode, right? I'm very long-winded. In comparison, I don't think Germany prefers introverts, but without having a lot of these social requirements that you find in US, as well as even in Latin culture, which is actually even more more. Germany does feel like a heaven to introverts. The Rona has done quite a number on these social rituals in the US, and there have been a lot of jokes floating around on Facebook in the US wondering, how do we talk to people now after spending a year with little to no human contact? I don't see that conversation in Germany as much. I know many of my Germans were just excited to be able to simply hang out with each other again. They weren't necessarily questioning the how of it like in the US. I mean, I know plenty of extrovert Germans who were also claiming that they're now feral and can only be lured back into society through treats. They're out there too. So now I think we're reaching the conclusion to my really weird observation. So I gotta find a way to come back full circle. Extroverts and introverts exist in all cultures. I just find it interesting how a culture has developed in a way that allows one of these personalities to kind of thrive more, while the other is kind of inadvertently looked down upon. And I'm saying this as an observation. I am not an expert on either of these cultures or any of these cultures because I got like 3 going on in my head. It's just sort of a weird epiphany I had while trying to come up with this core personalities of my romantic leads. Introverts, whether they're American or not, find American social rituals to be exhausting. And it's sad to see them be put down because they're not outgoing enough. Like it's really like it's like if you want to do well in life in the States, you have to be outgoing. You have to be like over the top. And if you're an introvert, that's a nightmare. On the other hand, as an extrovert in Germany, I can tell you it was not a nice feeling sitting in a company meeting in a German company and having the president tell me to my face after only 5 minutes of knowing me that you Americans are fake with your small talk. Yeesh, how about getting to know someone before you pass judgment? And that's the message of Pride and Prejudice, and we have come back full circle. Woo! What do you guys think? Are you having whiplash with this episode? I feel like I am. Like I've talked about writing a novel, a culture clash, the Rona, being feral, cultural differences, and then back to Pride and Prejudice. I mean, what more do you want from an episode? And that's it. Thank you so much for joining me. If you're new here, please consider subscribing and give this video a thumbs up. Please leave me a comment if you have any questions or if there's a certain topic you'd like to see on this channel. If you want fun escapism, my space fantasy The God Queen and its sequel The Lost Imperator available in ebook, paperback, and hardback. I have all the links in the description below. If you sign up for my newsletter, you'll get a free short story as well as some behind the scenes goodies. And don't forget to connect with me on social media, whether it is through Instagram, Twitter, or Facebook. And that's it. Until next time, adi!